All right, so good afternoon to everyone who are watching this vlog for today and for this live stream. I would just like to give this chance to say good afternoon to all of grade 9 learners out there and for you to have this module. This is second quarter of module 2 in grade 9 science. All right, so truly yours. This is Teacher Abs or Teacher April from JV Furials National High School, and welcome to our science class. So, for this afternoon, I will be discussing to you how are you supposed to answer and what are the important points that we are going to have for this lesson for today. So magtatagalog na lang po ako para mas madali siyang maintindihan ng ating mga viewers. Okay. Kasi mostly naman itong video na ito ay hello Taki. Okay, so good afternoon din. Alright, so meron na tayong mga nag-view ng ating live stream for this afternoon. So I would just like to give this time an opportunity to also for those students, all grade 9 learners who are here and now watching, please do comment down for some of the questions that I will be giving later. Kasi I will be giving um, extra credit for that and extra points. Okay, sa lahat ng makakasagot ng tanong natin for this afternoon. Okay, so simulan na natin ang ating discussion for today's lesson. This is just around 1 hour. So matatapos po tayo within 2:30. Okay, so let me just share. Allow me to share my screen. All right. Share ko lang yung screen ko ha para mas madali. Ayun. Okay, ayun. Alright, so nakikita ba natin? Nakikita naman, no? Alright, so for this afternoon, kasi gusto nating malaman o maintindihan ang mga nangyayari sa ating paligid, it is also best that we need to also understand what we have. Kaya magdi-discuss tayo for today's session. Okay, so for today's session, we are going to talk about, okay, quarter 2 of module 2 in science of grade 9. So lahat ng mga grade 9 learners out there, you're welcome to watch this video and please feel free to answer the questions later. All right, so let's start with quarter 2, module 2, our title, Bond That Ties. Okay, so let's get to know more. All right, so sa module na ito, it is actually subdivided into different categories. Okay, may mga notes tayo dito. Okay, what I need to know, what I want, or what I know, what's in, what's new, what is it, what's more, and then what I have learned, what I can do, assessment, and some additional activities. Okay, so ito po yung nilalaman ng ating module. So what is our target for this module? Okay, for this module, you are expected to recognize the different types of compounds, ionic or covalent, based on their properties such as melting point, hardness, polarity, and electrical and thermal conductivity. Okay? So in short, you will identify and describe the properties of compounds. Okay, so yun yung main target natin. Kasi sa lesson 1, you're able to identify the different kinds of elements according to its orbit, diba? Orbit, the number of electrons as well in every orbit. So yun yung na-target natin. Okay. So I will not answer yet what I know kasi i-discuss muna natin. You will answer this one after we discuss lesson 1. Okay. So let's talk about bond that ties. Lesson 1. Let's try to read The bond that ties the broomstick together is a circular knot made of plastic or rubber. So yung ano daw natin, yung broomstick sa bahay, 'di ba? Naka ano siya talaga, naka-intact. So may tali ka na nilagay. Just as plastic or rubber bond holds the stick as one, okay, kagaya daw nito, chemical bonds also hold together the molecules that will be studied in this module. So we are going to talk about bonding or chemical bonding of atoms or other elements, okay? So these chemical bonds are based on their properties shall be discussed in detail in the succeeding activities of this module. All right? So, na nating patagalin pa and ating simulan. Okay, may tumatawag na. Okay. Sige, simulan na natin ang ating lesson. Okay. So before we proceed to the first major parts of our discussion, we have in here a simple task. Diba nakikita nyo? Turn to page 10. Okay, in this page, let's try to look back on our past lesson. What are some way related to this topic that could be taken, 'di ba? We can also find connection to our lesson for today. All right. So we have in here some jumbled letters. So from 1 to 10, meron tayong mga jumbled letters. And let's try to identify the words. Kung ano ba yung mga words na nandito. Okay, sige nga. Let's try. Okay. So we have in here some terms formed in jumbled letters. Somehow refresh your learning on compounds. Okay. So ito, try natin. Number 1. Ano kaya ang number 1? Number 1 is, ano kaya siya? Alright, so meron tayong Terlus. Ano kaya to? Alright, so I actually have my answer key here, but I did. Some of it, I attached some of it kasi gusto kong ma-compare ninyo yung mga sagot ninyo, but not for the purpose of making it harder for you. Okay? So, para ma-review nyo lang talaga. Okay? So, kayo nang bahala na ang tawag dyan, mag-form ng mga words na yan. I will not tell you, I will not coach. But I know that you know these words. Kasi later on, we will discuss all of this and they will be part of our discussion for this afternoon. Alright, so let's go. Alright, dito na tayo sa what's new. In what's new, we have in here, alright, a picture of a married couple. Okay, meron tayo dito. We have in here some illustration of two persons binded together by faith and by love. Okay, ganun kasi yung marriage, di ba? So marriage is a couple's union with God. Without God's love bonding them, kung walang love na nagbabond sa dalawang couple, marriage will not last or it will be broken. Kaya may mga broken families, may mga separated sa father and mother. And then yung iba, wala ng mother and father, nakatira na lang sa lolo and lola. That is because the bond of parents should be intact. Okay. Kailangan talagang intact siya. So, same with chemical bonding. So, dapat intact siya. Okay? So, for instance, in your family daw, it is important that you put God at the center of your life. Okay, so sa pamilya, dapat si Lord yung nag-guide sa inyo. So para siya yung bonding nyo is dahil malakas yung faith and pananalig. Ganun siya. So he will be the one to bind your family together and make it stronger amidst all trials. Also, in marriage, there should be, pero ang yung topic natin ha, hindi to about marriage. Okay. Hindi to about magpapakasal. Ano. It is just like, tawag dito. Um, kumbaga, binibigyan lang yan ng, ang tawag dyan, binibigyan ng buhay niya ng comparison between chemical bonding and marriage. So, kung i-analyze mo siya, chemical bonding is like getting married. Kasi you are binded by the grace of the Lord or because of God's love. And together, you share the relationship between your husband, wife, and God. So, ganun siya. So, ang chemical bonding, in terms of chemical bonding, how do we relate this? How do we relate the marriage bond to this one? What binds atoms? Okay, may question dito. What binds atoms together to form a compound? Ano ba yung compound? All right, let me just try to give you the meaning of compound. Compound means, para mas maintindihan, a thing that is composed, of two or more separate elements. A mixture. Okay, yun yung compound. So, for example ng compound, sige. Compound examples. O, ito. Meron tayong tinatawag na pure substances. Okay? So, si compound ay isang form ng pure substance. Pero, there are different kinds of compound. It could be heterogeneous or homogeneous kind of mixture. Okay, so sa periodic table, when we try to look at it, there are different kinds of compounds. Okay, ito yung mga examples ng mga compounds na sinasabi ko. Paano yan? Paano yan? Cancel, cancel. Okay, so ang ibig sabihin nito is compounds are a combination of two or more elements in the periodic table. For example, water. Water has a chemical formula of H2O. Okay? It has two hydrogen atom and one oxygen atom. Combined together, it will result to water. It will be a water. Okay, glucose. Ano ba yung glucose? Sugar. Okay? So, you have 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, and 6 atoms of oxygen. It will result to a compound called as glucose or sugar. Okay? Alcohol. Okay, si alcohol has 2 atoms of carbon, 6 atoms of hydrogen, and 1 atom of oxygen. Pag walang number yan, ibig sabihin it is equivalent to 1. Okay, so that means, pag combine mo ng mga number of elements, you will result to alcohol. Salt, okay, or yung tinatawag natin sodium chloride. Okay, 1 atom of sodium and 1 atom of chlorine. It will result to salt. So, ganun lang siya. So, it's a combination of elements and 2 or more elements in a given or particular phase. Okay? So, let's continue. All right. So, this time, let's talk about compounds more. Okay? Compounds will be formed due to chemical bonds. Okay, paano ba siya ma-form? Due to chemical bonds. Okay, tatanong ko yan sa inyo later. Which are either strong or weak bonds. So, pwedeng weak, pwedeng strong ang bonding. So, depende yan sa attachment ng ating mga elements and the bond itself. Kung gaano kalakas yung bonding. Okay, so a strong chemical bond is formed, okay? Makinig kasi importante to. A strong chemical bond is formed either, okay, makakagawa ka daw ng strong bonding kapag, okay, either sa mga electrons ay nag-transfer, okay, either by the transfer of electrons forming an ionic bond or sharing of electrons between atoms creating a covalent, okay, creating a covalent bond, okay? So, may dalawang klase ng bonding. Tinatawag natin tong ionic and covalent, okay? I will explain these two types of covalent and ionic bonding. But take note that there are two types of covalent bonds. Okay? Dalawa daw. So, kumbaga, may dalawa na tayong, okay, try natin. Ano tayo sa word, ha? Um, okay. Alright. Okay, may na good afternoon na naman. Oh, hello ma'am, good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon, Jeriel. Ayun. Okay, sige. Sa lahat ng mga nandito at nanonood, please comment down below ha para makita ko yung ano nyo. Okay, entire screen na lang yung i-share ko ha. Pagpasensyahan nyo na kasi medyo ano, ano siya eh. Okay, yan. So, sa sinabi ko nga, ito yung compounds, di ba? There are different examples of compounds. And then, because of that, marami tayong bonding. Okay, may dalawang klase ng bonding na sinasabi ko sa inyo. Okay? So, yung dalawang bonding na yun ay yung ionic at covalent. So, yung ionic and covalent bonding ay nakadepende yan sa kung anong klase meron tayo. Alright, so ito yung first type is the non-polar covalent bond where the atoms equally share the bonding of electrons. The second type is the polar covalent bond which is formed when electrons are unequally shared between two atoms. Okay? So what are the different types of compounds formed after bonding? So ano nga ba yung compound? Okay. So in short, ang compound is a combination of two or more elements. Kapag nag-bind yan together, that's a compound. And what binds them? Anong nagbabind sa kanila together? It's because of chemical bonding. Due to chemical bonding, there are atoms or elements that bond together to create another form, which is a compound. Okay? So, yun yung ating i-discuss for this afternoon. Alright, so let's have a recap. Sa lahat ng mga nanonood, I'll be asking you, what do you call the combination of two or more elements combined? Alright, please comment down your answers below so I can check and I can relate to kung sino yung nakatama at nakasagot ng tama dito sa at just have the comment section below and then answer it. So ano yung tawag sa product ng two or more elements combined together? What do you call this? Please comment your answers down below so I can check it. All right, so let's proceed. Okay, sige. Try natin. Compound from Maris Angeli Ortiz. Okay, very good. Meron na tayong Okay, teka lang ha. Okay, may nanonood. Oh, ayan. Very good kasi may nanonood talaga. Wait lang. I-stop ko muna yung share screen ha. Kasi maganda pa rin yung Okay. Sige. Let's continue. Alright, so ngayon ay patuloy muna tayo. Papatuloy muna natin to. Okay, share ko muna yon and let's go. Okay, this time, asa na yun? Okay, dito na tayo. Okay, so what are the different types of compound formed after bonding? Okay, so dito na natin malalaman kung ano yun siya. As I've said, there are two kinds of bonding. In chemical bonding, we have the two fundamental type, the ionic and the covalent bond. Okay, tandaan, ionic and covalent bond. Ito yung fundamental bonding. Okay, isa-isahin natin sila. In ionic bond or in ionic bonding, there is a complete transfer of valence electrons between atoms. So that means it is a type of chemical bond that generates two oppositely charged ions. Okay? Two oppositely charged ions. Okay? So that means yung ating chemical bonding ay ionic siya kapag may nag-transfer ng valence electron. Yun yung clue ha. So, meaning, in ionic bonds, the metal, okay, malalaman natin kung metal siya kung nasa periodic table, di ba, nakalagay metal, non-metal, okay? Malalaman mo dyan. So, kapag yung element is metal and it loses electrons, and then it becomes positively charged cation. Whereas the non-metal accepts those electrons to become a negative charged anion. So kapag positive na siya, nagiging cation siya. Pag negative naman, okay, pag naging negative siya, anion ang tawag sa kanya. So ionic bonds require an electron donor. So kailangan yan ng donor. Okay, ito. I-relate ko sa inyo kung ano bang ibig sabihin ko kanina, okay? So, ganito yan siya. Papakita ko sa inyo kung ano ang ionic na bonding. Kasi para mas maintindihan ninyo, ano nga ba yung ionic? Okay, may video ako dito na ipapakita. But, this is very easy lang. Okay. So, dito, ipapakita kung ano yung ionic bond. Okay? So, I just want you to watch this one para mas maintindihan ninyo kung okay. Ayan. Ay, mabuti naman at nandito na yung ibang estudyante ko. Okay? So, sa mga nanonood at nagko-comment down below, don't worry because I'll be giving extra credits for everyone who are here. Okay? So, ipapakita ko muna sa inyo ano yung ionic bonding. Kasi nga, ano ba yung ionic bonding, ma'am? Hindi namin maintindihan yan. Okay, so, ang ionic bonding ay form of transfer of valence electron. Kumbaga, si metal, nagbibigay siya ng electrons sa isang non-metal para maging negative charge siya. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng tawag dito, ng ionic bonding. So let me share my screen. Allow me to share my screen and let's go to ionic bonding. Wait lang for a moment. Balik muna tayo. So let me share my screen and let's go to ionic bonding. Okay, there. So please and kindly listen para mas maintindihan natin.
Ions, as you already know, are formed from the loss or gain of electrons. Electrons, however, do not suddenly appear or disappear. They are, in fact, transferred from one atom to another. Let's look at sodium chloride as an example. Sodium loses one electron to form a sodium ion. The electron is not lost, but transferred to chlorine to form a chloride ion. So we have a sodium ion and a chloride ion. They are oppositely charged ions and will be electrostatically attracted to one another, much like how opposite poles of a magnet are attracted to one another. This electrostatic attraction is an ionic bond. Sodium chloride is an ionic compound because it is held intact by ionic bonds. The same thing happens with magnesium and oxygen. Why don't you grab a piece of paper and a pencil and draw the resulting ionic compound, magnesium oxide? Please pause the lesson and resume when you are done. Magnesium transfers its two valence electrons to oxygen, forming the magnesium ion and an oxide ion. The resulting ions are electrostatically attracted to one another, forming an ionic bond. Did you get this right? Did you remember to include the charges on the ion? Now, let's look at calcium and chlorine. Calcium loses two electrons to form a calcium ion. One of these electrons is transferred to a chlorine atom, and another is transferred to another chlorine atom, forming two chloride ions. The calcium ion is electrostatically attracted to the two chloride ions because the opposite charges must fully balance each other out. In all three examples, the resulting ionic compounds have an overall neutral charge because all charges are fully balanced out. In summary, an ionic bond is defined as the electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. When an ionic compound is formed, the charges must be balanced so that the resulting ionic compound has an overall neutral charge.
All right, there you go. Okay, so yun po siya, and that's how you are going to define the ionic bonding. Okay? So, again, remember what is ionic bonding? Ionic bonding is the transfer of valence electrons to another element, which is a non-metal. So, kumbaga, metal to non-metal ang sharing ng kanyang electrons. Okay? So, please remember. Now, let's move. Okay, example ito. Sodium, di ba? Si sodium kanina. Alright, ito. So, si sodium sabi niya, I have an extra one, you can have it. Si chlorine naman, ang sabi niya, I only have 17 electrons. I feel alone without one more electron. So, para makomplete yung 18, may pares yung ano niya, isang electron. Bibigyan ni sodium ng isang electron si chlorine. Kaya magkakaroon ng bonding na ionic at matatawag itong sodium chloride or we call that as salt. Okay? Salt. Ayun. Ito naman. Oh, yan. Yes, I'm positive. Are you sure? Yes. Oh. Ayan na, may NaCl ka na. Or salt. Okay? So, let's try. Let's practice. Let's have the ionic bonding. Okay. So, may papakita ako sa inyo. Okay. Periodic table of elements. Okay. Ito na lang kasi mas maano siya. Malaki. Ayan. Okay. Sige. I-try muna natin to na para makita ninyo yung ano talaga. Yung gaano kalaki siya. Ayan. Okay. Sige. Sana makita natin, no? Ayan. I think this is not a good picture. Hanap tayo ng iba. Yung may nakalagay na ano, metal, alkali metal, ganun. Ito. Ito. Okay. Sige, papakita ko sa inyo ito. And I will share my screen one more time. Tignan natin kung makukuha nyo yung sagot dito. Try lang natin. Wala namang masama kung magta-try tayo. Okay, sige. Share ko to. Alright, nakikita nyo ba to? If you're looking at this image, very good kasi nakikita ninyo. Ayan. So, make sure we have in here some of our elements. And for this afternoon ay magkakaroon tayo ng um, trial. Okay, ito try natin. Ito trial muna tayo. Okay? So, for our trial, let's look at this one. Okay, sige. Let's try hydrogen. Okay? Hydrogen. And si hydrogen ba ay metal? Ito si hydrogen, di ba? So red is, what is that? Non-metal. Oxygen. Is oxygen a non-metal? Okay. Alright. So, hindi siya pwede. Kailangan metal yung makita. Okay, ito na lang. Lithium. Metal siya eh. Alkali metal siya. Sige. Lithium. I-pair natin siya kay sa non-metal. Kailangan maghanap tayo ng non-metal. Sige. I-pair natin siya kay sulfur. Okay. Question. Ito ang question ko. Sagutan ninyo sa comment section. Ano or how much ang kayang ibigay? Okay. How much is the valence electron na kayang i-share ni lithium kay sulfur? Ready? Go. Okay. Ano ang kaya niyang i-share or magkano? Magkano? Ang electron na kayang i-share ni lithium kay sulfur. Sige nga, go. Comment down your answers. Hintayin ko yung mga sagot ninyo. Kasi minomonitor ko kung sino yung sumasagot. Alright. Comment down your answers. Let's see who will get it right. Sige nga, tignan natin. Okay, sige nga, tignan natin. Oh, walang sasagot? Uy. Okay, the correct answer for this is 1. Okay, 1 po yung sagot. Okay, may sumagot dito. 6.941, ma'am. Okay, ang tamang sagot nito is 1. Okay, bakit 1? Okay, lahat ng valence electron na nasa group 1 dito, na nakabilong sa group 1 na metal, ay kayang mag-share ng 1 valence electron. Lahat na nabilong sa group 2, itong aisle, di ba vertical yan. Lahat ng mga ka-vertical na group 2, ang kaya niya ibigay na valence electron ay 2. Kasi nasa group 2 siya. So in short, if it is a metal, you have to look at the group number kung saan siya nabilong. Okay. In a periodic table, there are parts. Lahat ng vertical ay tinatawag na group or tinatawag natin na family. Okay? Group or family. Lahat ng horizontal na paganito, di ba may mga numbers yan? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lahat ng yan, ang tinatawag dyan ay period. So when you look at the valence electron of an element, you have to look at the vertical side. So saan group or family siya na belong. So example, we have 1A, 2A, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, 8B, 1B, 2B, and so on. Okay, so ganun siya. All right, so let's proceed now to our next. Kasi we are running out of time. And let's proceed now to our next discussion. We are going to have covalent bond. So tapos na tayo sa ionic. Okay, just remember, ionic is metal to non-metal, sharing and giving of electron. Now, what is covalent bonding? In covalent bonding, there is a sharing of electrons. So, kumbaga, si ionic is transfer. Di ba? Nagta-transfer siya ng electron sa ibang element. Si covalent ay sharing between atoms. So, this type of bonding occurs between two atoms of the same element, kung magkapareho sila ng element, or the elements are close to each other in the periodic table. But this bonding occurs primarily between nonmetals. So in short, nonmetal to nonmetal lang siya. Hindi pwedeng, hindi pwedeng metal to metal or metal to nonmetal. Kailangang non-metal to non-metal lang talaga exclusively. Okay? So if atoms have similar electronegativities with the same affinity of 4 electrons, covalent bonds are most likely to occur. Okay? So kung magkapareho sila ng charges, ang tinatawag dyan is affinity for electrons or meaning same electric charges. Kung negative siya, negative din yung isa. Positive siya, positive din yung isa. Because both atoms have the same affinity for electrons and neither has a tendency to donate them. So, hindi siya namimigay. In short, hindi generous si covalent bonding. Okay? Hindi siya namimigay. Pero ang ginagawa niya is, nag-share sila. Kumbaga, kung i-analyze mo, si Ionic kasi, ibibigay niya talaga, ita-transfer niya sa'yo ng buong buo. Walang kapalit. Si Covalent, hindi siya mamimigay. I-share niya, pero makakapag-benefit pa rin siya. Okay? Ganun yung sharing or bonding nila. So, when they share electrons in order to achieve the octet configuration, pag sinasabi natin octet configuration, ito yung complete set of electrons sa isang element. So, meaning that is 8. Nakabuo siya ng 8 sets of valence electrons. Okay, para maging stable siya. Kasi stable ang isang element pag may 8 valence electron siya. Okay, so covalent bonds are categorized as pure or nonpolar. Okay, para mas maintindihan natin kung ano yung ibig sabihin nito, I think it's better na makita natin ang ibig sabihin ng covalent bonding. 'Di ba? So, let's try. Okay. Okay, i-share ko ang screen ko and I will let you watch this short video ng covalent bonding. Okay, makinig kayo ng mabuti and watch carefully.
Covalent bonds. In this video, you are going to learn about covalent bonds, how they are made, and how they form. If you haven't seen it already, first have a look at our video, Structure and Bonding. Only the noble gases exist naturally as single atoms. All the other elements of the periodic table have partially filled valence shells or outer electron shells. Atoms bond by swapping or sharing electrons in their outer shells. When very different atoms react, like metals and nonmetals, they normally swap electrons. This is ionic bonding. But when similar atoms react, like nonmetals combining with other nonmetals, they share electrons. This is covalent bonding. Nonmetals are found on the right-hand side and upper part of the periodic table. Some common nonmetals are carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and the halides. They have shells of electrons that are normally half or more than half full of electrons. Since they have a strong attraction for a few additional electrons, it is energetically unfavorable for them to lose electrons, so they share electrons by overlapping orbitals. This makes a bonding orbital, or covalent bond, that contains two electrons. If there is space in the outer shell, a non-metal atom can form double or triple bonds, like in oxygen or nitrogen. In the displayed formula of a compound, we represent a covalent bond with a straight line, like this. We can also represent a covalent bond as a dot and cross diagram. These diagrams show only the valence electrons. To learn more about dot and cross diagrams, watch our video on dot and cross diagrams. Covalent bonds are directional, which means they are in a fixed position, like holding hands. This is different from ionic bonds, which are formed with an electrostatic attraction between charged ions. The overlap between orbitals means that the atoms in covalent bonds are very close. These things make covalent bonds strong. There are two kinds of covalent structure: small molecules, like water, and giant compounds, like diamond. Because the electrons in the bonds are evenly shared, bonds are not polarized. There is little attraction between molecules, and forces between molecules are weak. Compounds made from small covalent molecules have low melting and boiling points and are volatile. They also don't conduct electricity. Carbon and silicon tend to form giant covalent compounds. These bond in the same way, but instead of forming small molecules with one or two bonds, they form four, making up huge lattices or chains of many, many linked up atoms, the basis of the organic chemistry of carbon or the chemistry of rocks. One common example is diamond, which is made of carbon. Each carbon atom forms four covalent bonds because it has four electrons in its outer shell to share and has space for four more. If every carbon atom forms four bonds with four other carbon atoms, and each of these forms four bonds with four other carbon atoms, and each of these forms four bonds, we very quickly end up with a very large structure. These compounds have very high melting and boiling points because you have to break covalent bonds rather than intermolecular forces to make them free enough to act as liquids or gases. The covalent bonds hold them rigidly in place in the giant lattice. Allotropes of nonmetals bond covalently. Allotropes are different structures of the same element. You can learn more about these in our video, Allotropes of Nonmetals. So to finish, here's a challenge for you. Which of these compounds are covalent? Pause the video for a moment whilst you think.
All right, so please chat or type your answers in the chat box. Which of these compounds are covalent? Okay? So, alin kaya dito ang covalent bonds? Carbon dioxide, carbon oxide, CH3OH, or tinatawag nating ammonia. Okay? Carbon. All right, silicon dioxide. Go. Lahat ng sagot, at least one lang isa. Okay, mamili lang sa choices. Okay, pakichat ng mga sagot ninyo. I will be waiting for your answers. Tignan natin kung sino ang makakasagot. Alright, so parang nag-iisip pa sila. Okay, please write your answers and please type. Okay, type nyo lang yung yung element na sa tingin niyo ay compounds na covalent or naka-covalent bonding sila. Okay? Ready? Go! Mhm. Try natin kung may makakatama kaya ng sagot. Okay, let's continue the video.
Have you considered their physical properties and where the elements come from on the periodic table? Solved it? Okay. The answer is all of these compounds are covalent. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and methanol are all small molecules. Organic molecules form covalent bonds between hydrogen and carbon. C70 is a fullerene, a carbon molecule shaped like a rugby ball, closely related to the Buckminster fullerene. Silicon dioxide is a giant covalent structure and just like diamond, but has oxygen atoms bridging between four coordinate silicon atoms. Hopefully, you now feel confident identifying covalent compounds and recognizing their properties.
Alright, thank you so much for that one. And now, alam na natin kung ano yung covalent bonding. And ang nakatama ng sagot natin ay sina... Okay, check ko muna si Ortiz. Okay, Ortiz. Hurtado, De La Rosa. Okay, very good. Kasi nakasagot. Alright. So, please expect some extra credits for that. Now, let's go to our physical properties of ionic and covalent compounds. Okay, all compounds, mapa-ionic man or mapa-covalent yan, it has a different physical property. Okay, but the basic physical properties that we will discuss are the most common ones. First is the melting point. Okay, in ionic compounds, it forms hard crystalline solids na nagme-melt siya at high temperatures. And it is resistant. Pag sinasabi nating resistant, hindi siya madaling mag-evaporate. Okay, hindi siya nag-evaporate. Okay, kasi there is a simultaneous attraction between the charges na cations and anions inside the bonding. Okay, kaya siya nagiging crystal. For covalent bonds between atoms are quite strong, but attractions of molecules and compounds or intermolecular forces are weak. Okay, mahina siya. So yung bonding niya hindi talaga very strong. And that is why, because of that, it has a low boiling and melting points. So mababa lang yung boiling and melting points niya. And it could go through three kinds of phases in matter. It could be solid, liquid, and gas. And that is under room temperature and pressure. Okay? Now, in hardness and shattering, so magkaiba na talaga no ang ionic and covalent. Okay? So sa hardness and shattering, ionic compounds are generally hard siya, but brittle. Madali siyang ma-break. Why? It takes a large amount of mechanical force, such as striking a crystal with a hammer, to force one layer of ions to shift relative to its neighbor. Okay, so when that happens, it brings ions of the same charge next to each other. So kapag may hard object, tapos ionic lang yung bonding niya, madali siyang masira kasi yung charges niya, though nag-transfer ng ng tawag nito, ng electron, okay? Pero yung ions niya are just next to each other. So, magkakadikit-dikit, di ba? Kaya nagkakadikit-dikit siya, madali siyang ma-break. Kasi yung hold niya is together. So, naka-compact siya. So, pag nagalaw yung isa, gagalaw na siya lahat. Okay. So, example, yung sodium chloride or yung asin, di ba? Dali siyang ma-break. Next is covalent substances. Okay, si covalent substances, as I've said, yung hardness niya is very compact. Okay. Can be gas, liquid, or solid at room temperature depending on the strength of the intermolecular interaction and pressure. So, sometimes covalent molecular solids tend to form soft crystals that melt at low temperatures. So, nagme-melt siya. Madali lang siyang mag-melt. Okay. Dito sa ionic compounds, makakagawa tayo ng iba't ibang klase na kristal, especially diamond. Oo. Next is polarity. Okay, ano yung sinasabi nating polarity? Yung polarity is distribution of electric charge over the atoms joined by the bond. Okay? So, kumbaga, yung polarity na sinasabi natin is yung kapit ng bawat element sa isa't isa. Okay, polarity ang tawag doon. So, we have two kinds of polarities. We have polar bond and non-polar bond. Okay, so let's talk about the two types of covalent bonds. Dalawang klase. Okay, we have non-polar and polar covalent. Si non-polar is between two atoms of a gaseous element. So, gas to gas ang bonding niya. But these are all non-metals, okay? Polar covalent is between atoms of two nonmetals. Okay, two nonmetals siya, but it can either be a gas or liquid or solid. It depends, okay? Depends to it. Okay, next. Electronegativity plays a major role in chemical bonding. So, ano yung ibig sabihin ng electronegativity? It is the ability of the atom to attract electrons towards itself in a chemical bond. As the video said, non-metals have the capacity, especially the halide, yung family of halides in a periodic table. Okay, lahat ng mga elements na nandoon, very strong yung attraction or electronegativity nila. So, kaya nilang mag-attract ng same element na pareho sa kanila. Okay, that's how strong their attraction in terms of electronegativity. Okay. Okay, so if, for example, if the electronegativity difference is less than zero point 0.4 non-polar covalent bond, so zero point 0.4 to 1.78 polar covalent bond, and greater than 1.78 is ionic bond. Okay, so in short, may range. Kapag zero point 0.4 non-polar, pag zero point 0.4 to 1.78 polar covalent bond, and if it is greater than 1.78, that is ionic bond. Okay, how do we know that? Okay, how do we know if it is 0.8? Okay, just look at the periodic table. May nakalagay dyan, electronegativity. Tapos, di ba may number yan? Oo. Yung number niyan, malalaman mo kung polar yan or non-polar. Okay, so ibe-base mo lang doon sa periodic table. Okay, so for ionic, it has complete transfer. Okay, complete transfer of electrons, full of ionic charges. For covalent, it has an equal sharing of electrons. For polar and non-polar, equal sharing of electrons. For polar, partial ionic charges. For non-polar, no charges. Okay, so yun lang talaga ang i-remember natin. Kasi these are the basic structures of it. Okay, next is electrical and thermal conductivity. Okay, it is the ability of some materials to conduct electricity and heat. So, kaya niyang gumawa ng heat, in short. Okay, so ionic compounds conduct heat and electricity when molten liquid or in aqueous solution. So kapag tubig siya, it can create, di ba yung asin, ilagay mo sa tubig, it can create electricity. That is an ionic compound. Okay, ionic compound experiment yan. Okay. So for covalent compounds, the electrons are exchanged between the elements and free electrons are not available for conducting heat. Thus, the lack of free carriers causes covalent compounds to be insulators. So in short, si covalent, hindi siya conductor. Si ionic conductor, kaya mag-generate ng heat, ng light, ng electricity. Si covalent, hindi. Hindi siya nakakapag-generate ng electricity. So, most likely, siya yung tinatawag na insulator. Okay? So, kaya. Anong sinasabi nating insulator? Yung mga rubber, hindi siya nag-create ng electricity, hindi nag-create ng heat, anything that is not creating electricity and heat is an insulator. Objects like paper, rubber, ano pa? Dami. Next, solubility and water. Okay. So in terms of solubility of water, when ionic compounds dissolve in water, they break apart into the ions that make up through a process called dissociation. Okay, dissociation is a process where it is easily separated into different parts. So yung particles niya, humahalo siya. Okay. Okay, humahalo siya doon sa parts ng ibang mga elements. Okay, next is covalent compounds. So kapag ang covalent naman is na-dissolve natin sa tubig, they break apart but not individual atoms. As a whole. Okay, example, water is a polar solvent. Okay, polar solvent si tubig. But covalent compounds are usually non-polar. So meaning wala siyang charge. This means covalent compounds typically don't dissolve in water. So hindi siya nadi-dissolve sa water. Example, sugar is one of the few covalent compounds that does not dissolve in water because it is a polar covalent compound. But it depends to the kind of temperature the water has. Kasi kapag mainit yung tubig, it could dissolve uh, the sugar. But still, kahit na-dissolve siya, there are still little grains or particles na hindi na-dissolve. Okay, so any new discovery? Of course we have. Okay, do you know Donald Fleming? Donald Fleming from the University of British of Columbia published a book. Ang tawag sa book, Angewandte Chemie International. This is a French book. Okay, or somehow in Colombia kasi they are adapting French language too. Okay, about a new chemical bond called vibrational bond. Okay. So this bond is present with bromine, monium, bromine. Okay, so yun yung bonding niya. Bromine, monium, bromine. Okay. So it was discovered that monium is an isotope of hydrogen created by replacing hydrogen's electron with an unusual particle called mon. Okay, so if you're going to look at the periodic table, makikita mo doon ang element na monium. Okay. And then that was the time that it was recorded and it was part of the history. Okay? So, ayun. Ayan. So, we have 2 minutes left and let's talk about what's more. So, given the following chemical formulas, let's try to answer. Label each compound as ionic or covalent. Ready? So, tandaan lang natin. Pag ionic, metal to non-metal. Pag covalent, non-metal to non-metal only. Okay? So it can be charged, partially charged, or it can be no charge at all. Okay, ready? Okay, let's start with number 1. Comment your answers below. Water. Is water an ionic or covalent? Go. Okay, kasasabi lang kanina, di ba, na si water ay isang, please type your answers in the comment section because I'll be posting who got it right. Sino yung nakatama? Okay, sino yung nakatama? Okay. Covalent. Very good. First answer, De La Rosa. Good job. Next, let's go to number 2. Magnesium oxide. Magnesium and oxygen together. Okay, tandaan lang. Ito ba ay metal o non-metal? Okay, so tandaan lang talaga. Pag metal to non-metal, ionic. Pag non-metal to non-metal, covalent. Okay, so what's the answer? Okay, it is covalent. It's ionic. Very good. Okay, we have Ortiz. Good job. Okay, next. Number 3. Nitrogen oxide. Nitrogen oxide. Go. Nitrogen oxide ha. Covalent or ionic? Mhm. All right, De La Rosa, covalent. Very good. Good job. Okay, next, let's have number 4, carbon dioxide. Oh, dali lang yan. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is, ano nga si carbon dioxide? Tignan ng maigi si carbon dioxide. Okay. Si carbon dioxide ay isang covalent or ionic? Carbon dioxide. Tandaan kung metal ba si carbon or non-metal. It is, hala, ano ba yan? Ano kaya ang sagot dito? So, syempre, hindi metal si carbon at saka si oxygen. So, ano siya? Covalent or ionic? It's covalent. Okay, very good. All right, now let's go to the next one. Let's have number 5. Nitrogen and, eto. Ano to siya? NH3. Ang tawag dyan is ammonia. Ammonia. NH3 is ammonia. Yung pataba sa lupa. Okay, very good. Covalent or T's. Alright. Now, let's go to number 6. Sodium chloride. O, ayan ha. Sodium chloride or salt. Ano yan? Ionic or covalent? Sodium chloride. Is it ionic or covalent? Okay. Sige nga. Ayun. Grabe naman si De La Rosa, ma'am. Oh, yun. Okay, very good. Sodium chloride is ionic, ionic, ionic. Very good. Okay. Sige, let's proceed to the next one. Number 7. Lithium. Okay, ang tawag dyan. Lithium and oxygen. Ano kaya yan? Ang tawag dyan is lithium oxide. Okay, ano kaya yan? That is ionic. Lithium and oxide. Very good. Ionic siya. Alright, very good job. Okay, ionic, ma'am. Okay, very good. Tama lahat ng sagot nyo. Okay, may mga plus points kayo later. Okay, 8 is oxide or oxygen. Okay. Ano kaya yan siya? Ionic or covalent? Okay. Pero may two atoms siya ng oxygen. So, ano kaya siya? Yes, ang tawag is covalent. Covalent Ortiz, Maris Angeli Ortiz. O2, Princess Victoria de la Rosa Covalent Ma'am. Okay, very good. Ayan. Covalent for Hurtado. Good job. Oh, good job sa inyong lahat. Covalent ang sagot dyan dahil si oxygen po ay isang non-metal. Okay? Kapag non-metal to non-metal, it's covalent. Next, let's go to aluminum and okay, ito trichloride ang tawag dito kasi tatlong atoms ng chlorine ang meron siya. So, aluminum trichloride. What is this? Okay, tingnan natin sino makakasagot kaya. Aluminum trichloride. Mhm. Ano kaya yan? Ionic or covalent? Okay, it's ionic. Very good. Kasi metal to non-metal siya. I mean, mami. Okay. Ionic. Very good. Okay, next, let's go to number 10. Nitrogen or nitrite. I know. Nitrate kasi dalawa lang siya. Nitrate. Kapag tatlo, nitrite. Nitrate. Sige nga. Is it a covalent or ionic? Okay, very good. Wow, ang gagaling naman ng mga students natin for this afternoon. Okay? Galing, covalent. Okay. Very good. So, alam na natin ha, paano na tayo mag-identify ng covalent. Covalent siya. Covalent. Alright, so that's it. Alright, so thank you so much for today's session, and this would be part of your answering. So we have still activity 2 here. Let's try label each of the following properties as an ionic or covalent compound. So remember, okay, you know already, low melting point. Ano yan? Ionic or covalent? Sige nga, let's identify. Low melting point. Ionic or covalent? Okay, covalent. Very good. That is a covalent bond. Covalent po, ma'am. Very good. Covalent po, ma'am. Oo. Covalent. Alright. Ito naman conducts electricity in molten state. Ano yan? Conducts electricity in molten state. O, kaya niya mag-conduct ng electricity kahit melted siya. Okay. That is ionic. Okay. Kasi si ionic lang kaya mag-conduct ng electricity. Si covalent ay insulator yan siya. It's not a conductor. Okay? Very good for De La Rosa, Ortiz, Hurtado. Okay? Good job. Now, let's go to number 3. Conducts electricity when dissolved in water. So, kapag na-dissolve siya ng water, ano yon? Pag naka-dissolve ng water, saan ba siya? Ionic. Yes, it's ionic. So, lahat ng nadidissolve ng water ay ionic. Next, let's go to number 4, brittle crystal structure. Oh, ito. Medyo ano siya, madali siyang mag-break. Okay, that is ionic. Parang may sagot na sila sa ano nila, sa lahat ng mga module nila. Okay, very good. Number 5, poor conductors of electricity. Ano yan? Meaning, hindi siya makapag-conduct ng electricity kasi insulator siya. So, it is a number 5 is okay, it's covalent. Okay. Not convalent, but covalent bond. Okay, covalent. Please check the spelling kasi wrong spelling is wrong tayo, ha? Alright, thank you. Thank you so much. Yan, ang gagaling. Okay, so let's have activity 3. Jenny is given 3 substances in the lab to identify. She gathers all of her data and puts it into a table. Her teacher gives her the names of the three unknown substances. So tatlo ng substances. Can you help Jenny match the properties of the unknown from the table below to their names found under the table below? Okay, let's try. So ito yung mga list of unknown. Okay, so may sodium chloride, may naphthalene. Alam mo yung naphthalene? Yun yung yun yung ginagamit sa cockroach. Yung naphthalene balls na nilalagay sa cabinet na parang ano, alcampur yung term nila na mabaho siya para hindi magkaroon ng cockroach yung ano nyo, yung cabinet. 'Di ba? Sucrose or tinatawag nating sugar. Okay? Sige. Paano natin siya sasagutan? Okay, tignan natin mabuti. Conductivity. Yes, aqueous. Uy, so meaning liquid siya. Pero kaya niya mag-generate ng electricity. So meaning ionic siya. Okay? Tandaan. Ionic. So meaning kaya niya mag-conduct. Mhm. Solubility in water. Kaya niya mag-dissolve sa tubig. Semi-brittle. Madali siyang mabasag or ma-break. Melting point, 164 degrees Celsius. Mm. So meaning, madali siyang mag-melt. Pero 164 degrees Celsius. Pero medyo ano siya, katamtaman yung melting point niya. Above 100 degrees kasi. So ano kaya siya? Tingnan natin si sodium. Si sodium ba, sodium chloride ay ionic? Yes, ionic siya. Si naphthalene ba ay ionic? Hindi siya ionic. So, automatic ito, covalent to. So, lagyan natin, covalent. Si sucrose ay ionic? Hindi, covalent siya. Okay, so sino lang ang ionic? Si sodium. So, meaning si number one substance ay sodium chloride. Okay, very good. Sino kaya ang nakatama? Mali ang sa keyboard. Okay lang, okay lang. Okay? So, let's have number 2. Number 2 is aqueous ba siya? Okay. Aqueous. Soluble. Brittle. Madali siyang mag-break. Okay. 800 degrees Celsius. So, ito yung melting point niya. Try natin na i-search yung ano. Okay. Ooh. Alright. So, parang ano siya. Parang try natin si salt. Ay, okay. Mali pala siya. Okay. Wait lang ha. Kasi merong parang may wrong ata dito. Okay. I-ano muna natin. Kasi parang may mali. Okay. Tignan natin mabuti kasi yung ano natin dito, yung table natin is parang may wrong. Okay, 164 degrees Celsius. Malalaman kasi natin yan sa periodic table. But kasi ang nakasulat dito, semi siya, semi-brittle. Soluble siya sa tubig. Pwede din siyang, yes, sugar can also. So I think the answer for this, kasi 164 degrees Celsius siya, that would be sugar. And number 2 would be sodium chloride. Kasi brittle, nakasulat ito na brittle talaga. Semi-brittle kasi sa sugar, kasi covalent siya, non-polar yung bonding niya. And then, no, not solid. Okay, so it's not soluble, soft, naphthalene, number three. Okay, so just remember, those are the most important points and please study what I have learned kasi dito ako kukuha ng ating examination. What I can do. Okay. So, ito, thinking critically. Okay. So, differentiate ionic and covalent and give at least two properties. Alam nyo na yung gagawin ninyo dyan. Okay. So, the assessment part, please answer from 1 to 15. And this is an additional activity. This is worth for your performance task. Okay, so gagawa kayo nito. Make a concept map. Okay, paanuhan natin to sa ano nyo lang, sa answer sheet. You're going to answer it. And then, let's see who has the neatest. Maganda yung pagka-layout ng concept map. Malinis siya, creatively done. Let's see who will get it right. This is worth 50 points all in all for the concept map. Okay? So that's it. And thank you so much for watching and for having this vlog. Okay, very good. So may mga nakatama oh, Ma'am Sucrose number 1. Hindi, okay. Sucrose number 1. Okay. And then number 2 is, okay, number 2 is for, ang tawag dyan. Number 2 is for, ano nga yun? Sodium chloride. Okay. So that's it for today and thank you so much for watching for this vlog series. We consumed around 1 hour and 16 minutes more. So thank you and have a nice day. If you wanted to replay this video, please feel free to watch this video over and over again so that you will have an idea what are the answers or the possible answers for our review. Okay, and for also for our examination. All right, so I hope this is helpful. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and please try to click the notification bell for more updates of teaching video series. That would be all for today. Bye and see you later. Thank you. End na tayo. Thank you, Ortiz, De La Rosa, Hurtado, um, Amy, Mami. All right. So thank you so much. Have a nice day, everybody.